Welcome back to the Two Shots in the Ball podcast. I am your host, Mike McAndrews. It is with a heavy heart that we bring you this episode to share our thoughts on the life and legacy of Catholic League director Vic Michaels, who passed away suddenly on Monday. I am joined today by some of Vic's closest friends and colleagues, Brandon Malinowski, who worked in the Catholic League office for a number of years before taking over as athletic director at Mercy, Aaron Babicz, longtime athletic director at Catholic Central, and the man who worked the closest with Vic on a day-to-day basis and one of his closest friends, Associate Catholic League Director Mike Evoy. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time to join me and share your thoughts on the tragic passing of our friend and colleague.
This is definitely not the most ideal way for us to get together. All of us are very close. But to celebrate somebody like Vic and just share a few stories and the love that we had for him and what he meant to everybody in our league, not just in our league, but in the state of Michigan and throughout the country because of who he was and on this platform. And Mike, I've told you a million times, everybody on here, I tell you guys I love you all the time, but I call you the Joe Rogan of the podcast world. But this is, maybe this is why you started doing this thing with your brother. And, I love the clips you've shared with Vic, when you showed him the T-shirt that you have on. I mean, it's just priceless. So I really appreciate you doing this and including me and the boys in this. So
Yeah, I appreciate it too, Mike. Obviously, this is one thing he loved to do was sit around and talk and share memories, and so it's an honor to be on. And I know what you meant to him. I know he thought you were the third best coach in your family. So just an honor to be on and talk about one of the greatest people I know.
Yeah, and I think for me and probably for you guys too, one of the reasons, my friendship with you guys and my admiration for you guys and my relationship with you guys, this is a good helping me grieve a little bit the loss of our dear friend and someone we all loved and admired. So, Brandon, why don't I start with you? Like, I know you worked closely with Vic in the Catholic League office for a number of years. You grew up in the Catholic League with your mom, the legendary athletic director and coach at Mercy, and now you're the head of the athletic department at Mercy. Why don't you talk about what Vic meant to you on a professional level and more importantly on a personal level?
Yeah, professional, I think it's obvious, right? I owe probably pretty much all of my career to him. For whatever reason, he took me under his wing very early on, and he'll tell you it's because my dad donated a lot of money, or that he owed my mom a favor, or I think it was just that he saw some kid that was willing to work every day for free. Like, how dumb could that kid be? But so professionally, just the things that I learned from him, right? And I could go on and on. Mike will tell you, when we used to, in our old building, we used to like answer our phones on speaker. So Mike and I could sit there for hours and listen to him talk to people. And just the things that I learned from those conversations are going to be invaluable for me for the rest of my life. And then on a personal level, I don't even know what kind of person I would be right now if it wasn't for him. Just how he talked to people, the way he had honest conversations with people, but he always told them what they needed to hear in his own way. And he was so good at the little smirky comments that were so funny and so well timed. And he showed me so much about life and how much personal relationships matter. And that's the one thing I'll probably take away the most is just make sure people know you're there to help. Make sure people know you're there and that you care and you lead with love. So forever grateful for that from him.
Yeah, and I think he did that with a lot of people. Me personally, Mike, you'll remember when Brandon left for Mercy, Vic called me, and you and Vic had tried to persuade me to come down to the Catholic League office and work with you guys. He knew and you knew where my heart was at Carter Mooney and that I wanted to be there. But for him to see value and for Mike to see value in me and then make me the Coaches Association president and want me more involved in the things at a league level. He had that ability to make you feel really important. no matter what your role was. And most people, when you reject them and tell them no on their offer, would have a certain reaction. His was, okay, let's find another way to get you involved. He just had that uncanny ability to. I've said this to people over the last couple days. His ability to have conflict resolution in a public setting. Now, I'm sure there were private times where he chewed Mike's ear off about something one way or another that somebody within the league or outside the league was doing, but his ability to listen to people, hear them out, and his conflict resolution skills are something that I admired a lot and that I hope to emulate a lot.
I got to jump in there. Um, a couple things. One, with trying to replace Brandon, as Vic would say, probably the bar was set so low that we figured you could clear it, Mike, with ease. So,
I was
but
going to say that, so thank you for not
yeah,
making me back.
hey, not a problem. But it's funny when Brandon started with us first as intern, and then we were able to get him the job in the office. It was somewhat awkward timing. My twins were born the day Brandon's first day of work. And this was going to be followed up by Vic being out of town for his work with the National Federation and then also the NIAAA and the MIAAA. So it looked as if ultimately Brandon was going to be left alone in office for the first month, that we weren't going to be around until July. And we were a little concerned, but we figured, well, if he's still there in July, he'll probably work out for us then. So he'll figure it out. But yeah, poor Brandon, first day in the job, we're like, yeah, we don't know what to tell you, but you got to be here today and tomorrow, and we'll be in and out in July. We'll see you then.
Turn the lights out when you leave.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you guys forget that Vic was blessed to have us kind of all at the same time, because Brandon, you started at the league office right around the same time Mike started, and I started at CC. So I feel like he helped raise the three of us, especially because, and Evoy, I know you'll agree with this, and I don't want to hear some comment of yours, but I know I'm going to. There's a lot of times where I have still no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I like to feel like I'm a lot like Vic. Vic wasn't the greatest at the details. Every single meeting, we would have a mistake on a date or a location or paperwork, and we'd all laugh and blame it on Stephanie. Sorry, Steph. But we all know it was Vic. But Vic was there to love us up. He was there to drop the hammer on us if he needed to. He was there to make us believe, give us grace, and I think that's one of the greatest things about him. And I just think it's funny that we all kind of came in together, and now we're kind of the four of us, I feel like, are in charge of carrying on his legacy. So,
Aaron, talk about what Vic, having said that, coming in at the same time as Brandon and Mike and I, and somewhat in the same era. Talk about you had an understanding of Catholic education, having been a CC alum and played there and going back to work there. But talk about what Vic, same question as Brandon. You were a guy that I know Vic and Mike leaned on a ton. Like, you never said no to them hosting an event, or at least publicly. They always got their way one way or another. But you've been, a huge asset to the Catholic League and in sharing your facilities and the things that you do for the league. What did Vic mean to you?
I got really lucky. I came in as our admissions director for 3 years before I got the AD job, and just going and doing the old school presentations at all the CYO feeder schools and supporting the prep bowl and making sure that I went to the golf outing every single year as an admissions director and did multiple hole sponsorships. And yeah, I think that's where I really started to build my bond with guys like Mike Evoy and Brandon and you, Mike. And that's where Vic understood that I was all in from day one, not just to help Catholic Central, but to help the league. We're part of the best league in the country, not just the state of Michigan. There isn't anybody that does faith-based educational athletics like the Detroit Catholic League. It doesn't matter what division you're in. It's one family, one league. So when I got to work with Bob Santello, taking over for a legend like that, I'm in the same room with people like George Porritt, Vic Michaels, Sal Malik, Diane Laffey, Nancy Malinowski. I mean, these people that were giants to me. And I've used this saying before, that we're standing on the shoulders of those giants. Vic was the giant of that group. Wasn't the longest tenured, hadn't been at it the longest, but you knew when he came into a room, you could feel it. Like, you guys know I'm a culture guy. You got to hear it, you got to see it, you got to feel it. Vic didn't miss on a single tick mark. You could feel it in his voice when he was a little disappointed in you and when he knew he had to give you grace. You could tell and you could see it in the way that he moved, the way that he carried his faith and how he communicated with people. And you could just feel it in how he loved you. So if I could be a fraction of the administrator and not a swivel chair administrator, because Vic wasn't a good office guy. He needed to be with his people. And that's how the three of us are, the four of us are. We need to be with our people. That's what makes us great at what we do. And I got that from Vic. I got it from Bob Santello. I got it from Father Elmer. And I get it from you guys. So that's what he meant to me. He just set the standard of what it means to do it right and to love tough and to lead with love. And I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. And it just makes me want to step it up even more in his honor. So that's what he means to me and what he'll always mean to me.
Yeah, he had, those of us on here who are old enough to remember, so basically everybody but Brandon, he was like, remember the old E.F. Hutton commercials, right? When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. And that's the presence that Vic had, not just within the Catholic League, but around the state. He brought a tremendous value and asset to student athletes, administrators, and leaders in high school athletics around the state. He
Like you
also,
talked about telling those guys no. I was too scared to tell Vic no because he dropped that little Chaldean accent on you. He'd be like, "Yeah, you sure you don't want to host girls lacrosse?" I'm like, "Vic, I don't have any lines." He goes, "We'll pay to paint them." I said, "Well, looks like we're hosting." So that's just how he was. You couldn't tell him no.
yeah.
You just cared about him that much, and you knew he cared about you that much, and that's why I always wanted to serve and will continue to. And it's just that simple.
So my guess, Aaron, is that Mike Evoy called you first and you said no, and then Vic called and you had to say yes.
No,
Yeah,
me and Mike call each other on a lot of different things. Mostly it's not business. It's whatever we can binge watch or shame each other,
Yeah.
whatever we ate food wise that day. So
Whoever got a fresh shave in the morning.
yeah.
yeah,
But no, I think you're
his-
right about that. That was a big part of the working relationship. I always felt my role was to make his life easier. So years of late, a lot of people are concerned about how rough and gruff I am. And I guess I did a really good job of hiding that fact, that it was for the sake of him to make life easier, because when he communicated, like you said, Mike, people needed to listen. So we didn't waste opportunities for him speaking. For when he taught, going back to Babicz, you got to say yes. It's okay to tell me no, but if you told me no, then that meant you're actually talking to Vic about whatever the topic was.
Yeah.
You know?
And back to Brandon's point too, his sense of humor is something that will forever stick with me. 48 hours before he passed, I was on the phone with him. I tried calling Mike and Vic at the same time, and we had a team bail at the last minute in our holiday tournament, and I was calling these guys to get clarification on the forfeit rule from the state level and all those things. And Vic called me back, and it's a 12 o'clock girls game in our tournament, and my brother's reffing, and John Hall, who played for Vic at St. Clement. And for those of you that think my brother, he's not reffing a Cardinal Mooney game. He's not allowed to ref a Cardinal Mooney game, because if he was, I would be ejected in my career more times than two. I mean,
can you get two in a season?
1.5. I mean, but that's Mike and I will go down that rabbit hole on another episode. But I'm talking to him and he calls me back and I'm asking him questions and he says, "How's the tournament going?" I'm sitting at the scores table. So, well, I'm staring at Jim McAndrews and John Hall screw up a bunch of calls. He's like, "The forfeit is not your biggest concern." He's like, "You better make sure there's enough beer in the cooler for those two when the game ends."
Yep.
So he had that uncanny ability to make you laugh even in stressful situations. Mike, you were
the times it broke the ice.
It did.
It was really, I think a high issue situation and you're going back and forth and all of a sudden he just drops a comment and you're like, what? And it's just from there it got funny again. we talked earlier about like how good he was at having honest conversations with people that were tough. And I know Mike's gonna know what I'm talking about here, but when him and Rashid used to have these conversations, and the conversation would start off, and they'd just be talking, what their day was like or whatever, and then Vic would always drop the line of, I think I think we missed something here. How did this kid, and then they'd go back and forth, and Rashid would start, his typical loud screams, and you'd look at Vic and he'd start kind of laughing with his little smirk because he knew what he was doing to Rashid, getting them all flustered, and they'd go back and forth for like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden in the middle of the conversation, Rashid would be like, so how's Linda? And they just like they were just mortal enemies for like 10 minutes about two different sides of something, and then all of a sudden they're like the best of friends again. And I think the way he handled those situations with people, and Mike and I know, like, there'd be ADs that Mike and I just couldn't handle anymore because they just wouldn't listen or whatever. And Vic would be frustrated with him, and he'd get on the phone and he'd be so nice to him. And Mike and I'd be like, what do you mean? What was that all about? He's like, well, he just needed the love. And he'd be like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing here. So
Yeah, he had that kill him with kindness kind of mantra to get people to do what he needed them to do. Mike, you were probably closest with Vic out of all of us, having worked with him for a very long time, not just on a professional level. I know this is a tremendous loss for you as a friend and on a personal level. What, if you can put into words what Vic Michaels meant to Mike Evoy?
I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure right now in this moment. His friendship, his mentoring to me can just be expressed in words. Um, he meant so much to my family, to my kids, and in everything that we did. I was telling Babicz, one of the toughest things over the last few days has been 8 a.m. For I talked to him every day. Whether or not we were going in the office or going here or there, it was an 8 a.m. phone call. Saturdays were optional, depending on what was going on. No Sundays. But we always talked at 8 a.m. Anywhere from work to what was going on personally, what's going on with the kids. He was just so great to so many people. When you started this, you mentioned my friend, and that's I'm very grateful for that. It's one of the greatest things I think I have in life right now is to be able to say I was a friend. So,
And I
but yeah,
told you on the phone yesterday, I had pressed him at the Prep Bowl about his future.
Listen,
As
I hate to
everybody
cut
had.
in. We're literally driving down a country road. I'm dead serious when I tell you this. We just drove by a billboard, a single daisy, and the words said, "Thanks, Vic." That's it. I swear to you guys, and my wife just pointed it out right on the road that we're driving in some town in the middle of Ohio. Can you take a picture?
and
Wow.
there's no telling.
Unbelievable.
And it really is. The last few days, guys, and I think you can attest to this, has really been about sharing with others how great he was to us as individuals, but most importantly to the league. You said something earlier, Mike, about getting people to do what Vic wanted. It wasn't what Vic wanted. What was best for the league, what was best for student athletes, because that was at the heart of all the decisions and all the hard work. Vic was always determined for us to remember that it's that kid's only senior year.
Mm-hmm.
For him, it may have been year 31, 32, and you can rack up the years as a coach or as an administrator. But that kid only gets one senior year, and we need to do the best thing we can for that student athlete and provide them the best experience around. So it wasn't so much doing what Vic was asking of you, right, for the sake of Vic. It was really for the sake of the league. And that's part of the appeal with Brandon and Aaron and yourself. It's never been about our particular schools, Catholic Central, Mercy, Cardinal Mooney. It's been about what's best for this league. And that was always a driving factor with them. What's
That,
best for this league.
that's exactly right. When you and Vic reached out to me to be the president of the Coaches Association, I remember having a conversation with Vic, about, this puts you on the executive committee. And he's like, the reason we're doing this is because we think you'll take your Cardin Mooney hat off and do what is best for the entire league. So that was at the core what he thought about in all of his decisions and interactions. This is a tremendous loss for all of us, for everybody in athletics. I know all of us, are thinking and praying for Linda, Mark, Brad, Vic's two daughter-in-laws and his 6 grandchildren during this difficult time. But I think he'd be proud that the 4 of us are here, and this is his legacy. What those of us that are, tasked with carrying on his legacy in the Catholic League.
Well, I tried to do that. I was really tempted to, talking about his legacy. For when you asked, I was going to reply immediately. I got something to duck out of this, because that was typically the response, especially when afforded the awards. Vic was often nominated. Different organizations, groups wanted to give him an award, and he always downplayed it, never wanted it. And whenever they said, no, we're giving it to you, it's going to be on this day, he goes, I got something. And one time he got caught. They go, we haven't given you the date yet. Oh, I thought you did. Yeah, no, I think I got it. So, but
and I do,
there again, it was never about Vic. It was about the kids.
So I do want to share this story. At the prep bowl, I told you I was pressing him about his future. And he was unsure at the time. And at that time, he had already given up student health and safety to Mike. And he had, Mike, I told you this yesterday, a tremendous amount of confidence in you to lead this league, as Aaron said, the best league in the country. And he told me that personally, the amount of confidence he had in you. And I know the 3 of us have a tremendous amount of respect and confidence in you. And we're here to help you, continue to build upon the legacy that Vic left for this league, and then eventually put your own stamp on it. So we all care about you, love you, and we're here for you.
I thank you guys for that. It only took about 16 years for him to come around, I guess. For initially, Vic did not want me to have this job. In fact, he was quite upset that I did get it. But I guess I wore him down after 16 years. So,
guys, I appreciate you taking the time to come on today and share your thoughts on the impact Vic Michaels had on your life and your career. I'm grateful because of Vic that I have the relationship with the 3 of you do now, that I got to meet 3 of you through Vic Michaels, and we all share a common goal and a common interest, and our values are aligned with one another. I appreciate all you guys taking the time today.
Thanks for doing this, man.
At Mass the other day, they were talking about, how we waste our time and how we spend our time and how precious it is. And, I'm, how much I care about you guys, and I'm honored that I've gotten to waste so much time at so many games that were just high school games with you guys and with people like Vic and everybody else in our league. And I said it earlier, I feel like we're called to be here right now, and maybe it's a lot sooner than we thought, but it's time. And Mike, I'm still going to tell you no on certain events, just so you know. You'll just call my dad. You'll just call my dad. We can do it anyway.
No, he's just going to call Mercy
let's
now.
not act like you're actually at the events, Mr. Babicz. Come on now.
So thanks again, guys. And for our listeners, if you could continue to pray for Linda, Vic's children, and grandchildren. Once again, we are sad to share the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Vic Michaels, at the age of 71. Thanks.